Good morning, everybody. It's Sunday, November 19th, 2023. My name is Teri Hunter, and I'm here with your weekly astrology horoscopes. Let me just make sure I've got my sound up. Okay. Excuse me, look a little tired today as I stare at my face. This season, the time change, I still am adjusting to it and recalibrating my energy. So let's start. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about some of the transits coming up this week, some of the transits that are still in play, and then I'm going to go do an angel reading for each rising sign. This is based on whole sign Western astrology. If I was working with you personally on an astrology chart, I would look at it in Placidus, but for the sake of the numbers, I think it's easier to go with whole sign. So you're going to look at your rising sign. You will also, I think it's super, pardon me. It's super important to see your moon sign. Humans are emotional creatures, and to think that we can just put our emotions aside and trek forward just with our brains is really kind of an absurd idea, at least from my perception. So rising and moon are on a par for me. If you don't know what these two things are in your chart, you'll want to go to one of the free birth calculators on the internet. You just need your location and time of birth, and you can get that information easy. Also, the sun. Now, most of us see our sun sign in all the horoscopes in the magazine. This is the sign that it's the ego sign. It's sort of how we project ourselves in some respects out into the world, or how others perceive our projection out into the world. So we're going to start with the birthday month, which is Scorpio, and work our way around the Zodiac. But first, I'm going to talk about a couple of the transits. Good morning, small wildflowers. Good morning, Catherine. It's good to see you. We are in the middle of, I don't know where everybody is in the world, but we are about to embark on Thanksgiving week. Christmas is starting to express itself everywhere out there, bowling over Thanksgiving. So in the tradition of Thanksgiving, and let's not look too deep into the actual event, but just I want to thank everybody here for watching, for those of you watching in the playback, for your support and for your, I feel such a warm vibration from my tribe and the people that come here. And this year, more so than in a long time, I've needed that. And so I just really want to thank you all. And we're going to get through the end of this year. And 2024 is going to present whole new energies. So I think as we set intentions for that, we're going to thrive. That's the way I'm going to put it. So let's talk about the Sun and Mars, because for quite some time now, first it was Mars and Mercury traveling through Scorpio, and then Mercury moved on into Sagittarius, and now the Sun and Mars have been traveling together. This week they're at the very end of their transit through Scorpio. And if we think about Mars in Scorpio, it is the co-ruler of Scorpio. There's a strong energy there of with the Sun and Mars traveling together, there's a feeling of being brave about opening up to how I land on others. The Scorpio energy is very intense, and the unconscious Scorpio energy can be very brooding, can be in some ways a punishing energy in its dominance. And so I think that this is a real opportunity to look at ourselves bravely and not play to the crowd, but to play to how we would like to see, or to even take inventory of how we have been fostering and nurturing a vibration that is more aligned to our happiness. I think this is important. I personally have Mars and the Sun in Libra. They're about 4 degrees away from each other. And oftentimes, astrologers will say, oh, you're argumentative in relationships. Maybe there's part of that's true, but the Sun when it's close to a planet, combusts it. So Mars is not going to be as strong when it's next to the sun. And here we're seeing it today at 20, sun is 27 degrees of Scorpio, Mars is at 26 degrees. So this is going to continue on until Mars moves into Sagittarius. Well, that's not, let me back up. They're going to continue to travel together as they move into Sagittarius, but the Sagittarius landscape will calm the energy down from being in the Scorpio landscape. So, because I want to offer this, while Mars is strong in Scorpio, the sun is asking Mars to be brave in how do you want to work with other people? You know, how do you want to get people on your team and stand as a leader versus somebody who appears to be disruptive? So on the 22nd, which is Wednesday here in the Pacific time zone, we see the sun enter Sagittarius. Mars will do that 2 days later, which is on Friday. And we have Mercury during this period of time hovering around the great attractor. I'm very fascinated by the Shapley cluster. I believe that the season every year, as the planets move through these points, gives us an opportunity to review the year that we've been walking through. And are we aligned to what we want? And are we utilizing the laws of the universe? Again, this is the Shapley cluster that is talking about attracting energies to us, the energy of each one of the points, the galactic center, the supergalactic center, the great attractor, and the Shapley attractor, all are points of pulling things in towards us. So as Mercury, there's also a 5 to 12 degree orb on the great attractor, which is at 14 degrees, 21 minutes of Sagittarius. So Mercury is going to be going through this and is already starting to experience it as it moved into Sagittarius. So there's an opportunity to think, am I attracting and aligned? Is my speech supporting what I want to experience? Or in some ways, am I so focused in on the challenge, the disruption, the obstacle that I'm talking more about that than I am the how it will feel when I experience the solution? Because this is part of where I feel like we're really becoming into an awareness. And the awareness is not about trying to wrestle a negative thought down, but rather just know that we're in a human structure that has been designed and supported to think in a challenging way. Where are my obstacles? Where am I going to get tripped up, etc.? And this gives us an opportunity to come into an awareness and then to use the great attractor's energy to apply the knowledge that we have gained. That is the point of this, that is the energy of this point within the cluster, is to apply the knowledge that we've been garnishing. We also see Saturn just standing still at 0 degrees. I think next week it'll finally move to 1 degree, but for the longest time, Saturn's been standing at 0 degrees of Pisces. And I've been contemplating that, what does this mean exactly? Because Saturn here in Pisces is having to look at an emotional energy and emotions and creativity and things that are dreamy. And Saturn tends to want to be into the 3D practical world. So here, I think that Saturn is having a conversation in Pisces about implementing structure into the creativity, into the fantasy, into the imagination. So I think this is a time, and then I kind of want to go back to Mercury and Sagittarius, where I'm going to start to put some structure into my dreams, my hopes. Am I putting any time and any energy, whether it just be sitting in meditation, contemplating that dream, that new house, the new car, the new lover, or the better relationship, the improved home, whatever your situation is, because that's, I think, an important element to Saturn's energy in Pisces, is a willingness to allow for a gestation period, for a period where, Saturn rules agriculture, which ultimately is putting seeds in the ground, covering them up, and then nurturing them while you cannot see their development. Now we have Venus. She is traveling through Libra right now. So she is in her domicile. But at the same time, she's opposing Chiron in Aries. So Venus is going to travel this week between 12 and 19 degrees of Libra, and she will be in opposition to Chiron, which is retrograde at 15 degrees of Aries. I really think that in this energy, there is an asking of to revisit our relationship with money, our relationship with how the world perceives beauty and attraction, physical attraction. Aries is very physical. Venus is attraction. Chiron is a wound. And I think in this opposition, while we think of an opposition as sort of a push-pull, this something outside of ourselves that is in our way, if we think about if we're co-creators in our life, is that opposition not serving me in some way? Can I not look at that opposition as a way to dig deeper into my own sense of self-worth, my own relationship with money? I have found myself, I'm still working through this disruption. And when I've been going into my meditations and asking spirit, where are we in the journey? Part of me wants to say, will I win? Will I win? But really what I've been saying to spirit is, am I aligned to my win? Am I really deeply aligned to what I perceive as balance in the situation? And as I look there, I know that when I attain that alignment, that all will work out in the end in the physical world. And in addition to Saturn, sort of standing in the sky at that 0 degrees going, so where's the structure? There's Pluto continuing to square the nodes. This has been years and years of Pluto squaring the nodes, asking us in no uncertain terms to look at the structures that don't serve our happiness. And rather than trying to take action in a fear-based way, how can we transform the situation to bring us a sense of power or a sense of control? And again, for me, control is always my alignment to my outcome or my alignment to a deeper truth. I've got a very strong, when I think about the ram and the bull, I'm an Aries rising and a Taurus moon. That's a lot of pushy energy. And as I have become more aware that my pushing is a physical human structure that doesn't always work, my willingness to align into something I can't see and not surrender in a disempowered way. But again, I talk about the baton pass. Spirit inspires me into action. I take that action and then I allow for a new inspiration. So I think this is what Pluto is continuing to do as it squares the nodes, because Pluto is also sextiling Neptune. So will you apply the spiritual practices that you have, spent so much time integrating into your physical experience when the rubber meets the road? When things seem their hardest, or when things seem their bleakest, will you trust in something that you can't see and allow yourself to feel the human insecurity without anchoring into it? I think this is really what we're walking through for the rest of this year, for the most part. And I think that really the more that I embark on this human journey and the more exhausted I feel by it lately, I will admit, I think on some level I'm in some sort of, chrysalis. I think that's the right word. The butterfly. I think I've decomposed the caterpillar, and now I'm just chipping away at that cocoon, trying to get out and stretch my wings in this new way. So that's the way I'm gonna offer it to you this week, in the sense of this. Before we start our readings, I don't know if you guys have looked at Pam Gregory's video with Julia Belaz. She did it a few months ago. I think it was 6 months ago now. It's easy to find on Pam Gregory's YouTube channel. It's very powerful, this attractor. So if you have any points, Stephen the Jupiterian would absolutely have at least his sun around this area in Sagittarius. So we're looking for, Scorpio energy, Libra energy, and the Sagittarius energy, where all of the these points are. So to me, this is like the reason they're there is because we've walked through the first 6 houses of discovery of self in the physical. And now we're going into that 7th, 8th, and 9th house where our intermingling is revealing where we are powerful or disempowered and what we truly believe as we transform through this experience. So, all right, so we're going to start with our Scorpio rising. And then we're going to work our way around the zodiac. Good morning, everybody. I didn't get a chance to say hi to everybody. Welcome to the room. But again, I want to thank you all for being here. I'm very, I feel more aware of my appreciation for you all. I can't really describe it in a big enough word, because this year has been hard for me, and hard for me in a way I can't quite physically or verbally describe. And I think it's because I've been going through deeper and deeper levels of personal awareness. And in that, I feel like you guys have been sort of helping me to remember who and what I am every week as I come here and allow Spirit to use my voice. Because, you know, Teri doesn't always, these wisdoms don't always pop up effortlessly when Teri, as I say, is sitting on the couch. Because Teri on the couch is a human being, and Teri at the table is facilitating Spirit's messages and guidance. Okay. Oh yeah, Stephen, you got a lot. You've got your ascendant on the galactic center, which is all about receiving downloads and being able to connect. Oh wait. Okay, 0 degree Neptune. That's not as, that's generational. I will take the ascendant at 26 degrees, and your moon and sun are both Pisces. I'm confused. Sagittarius moon and your and rising are both at 26 degrees, because that puts you right on the galactic center within a degree, which is super powerful, because it's an ability through your meditations, through your connection to Spirit, to receive information and divine solutions to things that you can't wrestle down to the ground on your own. All right. Are we ready to start our readings and get... Okay, here we go. For our Scorpios, I want to wish you happy birthday this week. And if we have not got the most appropriate card for Scorpio, this is the Judgment card. Literally represents death and rebirth. It represents the sign of Scorpio. It represents an opportunity through illumination. You can see that the characters, while their physical bodies are still feeling cold and maybe even numb, they have had illuminations. And through that illumination, they are realizing that their connection to Spirit is where their co-creation begins, where the seeds start to get planted. And also, this idea that Archangel Gabriel is blowing the horn leads me to believe that this is a level of verbal vibration. So as we are aware of our self-talk, there has been a part of me that wants to, you know, I live alone. I don't have a lot of conversations that aren't about other people, to be honest with you. Most of my conversations are with clients or about work. And so when I have an issue and I want to talk about something, there's a part of me that very humanly wants to just go bitch and complain and say, they're wrong, they're wrong. And yet I know that the focus on whatever's out there is not serving what I want to feel and hear. So I want to offer this because Scorpio, you know, you're very intense, you're very powerful. And I think that it's important for your manifestations just to be aware of your verbal vibration. I often am adjusting my clients' verbiage. They will say, I need to do this. I need to get better at this. I need this. And I'll be, no, you get to do that. And I'm always wanting to lift the vibration into an opportunity, something to get excited about versus something that feels judgy. And if I need to move myself from one place to another, then I'm judging the place I am as not being good or not being right. So I feel like that's where we're focusing in on. Let's look and see. We have Mars and the sun. So if your birthday's this week, you've got not only your solar return, but you've got Mars coming up in that. Oh, Stephen, sending good vibes for you for holiday. Let's see where we're going with our Scorpio rising, moon, sun. If you have a Scorpio stellium, that's 3 or more personal planets in the sign of Scorpio, this is super powerful. And I don't know if you guys saw, I'm just going to do a little shameless plug. I did a video on Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, and I kind of think it's totally cool. They both have a Scorpio rising, if I have his time right, which I kind of think I do, or at least very close. All right, Scorpio. Our first angel is Layla. The second is Opal. The third is Ariel. Wow. And the final is Shanti. Thank you, Stephen. I'm enamored with that love affair. And I can't even believe their Jupiters are conjunct. I kind of lost my mind a little bit about that. Okay. All right. We have Layla and the birth and the rebirth card. Okay, Scorpio, you are literally embarking on a whole new vibration in the coming year. And Spirit is very much wanting you to realize that you are such a child of God and work in connection with you. Because one of the challenging things about the fixed signs is that you're fixed, right? So let's just say not only your rising, but your moon is Scorpio. Then your emotional body is going to be very sensitive on some level. And when you are feeling judged or feeling like you're being pigeonholed into that stingy Scorpio energy, you could feel misread. And I think that that might be very true. But at the same time, as you're aware of how you're showing up, are you allowing for the evolved version of yourself to step forward? Because Layla talks about intentions, talks about where you want to be, where you want to go, and connecting with Spirit. And there's the birth and the rebirth card, which goes right back to this judgment card, which is Scorpion, which is all about like a rebirth of the mind, a rebirth of how to empower yourself. Sometimes we think that if someone else is right, we are inadvertently wrong. And I don't know that that's necessarily true. When we shift it to perceptions, then nobody is right and nobody is necessarily wrong. Because in this moment, I feel like Scorpio may feel a burden of their connection to Spirit. It may not feel, because you've gone through something. And I would bet the South Node going through, again, the South Node has moved off of you, but we're going to see a dynamic when as Pluto moves into Aquarius, it's going to aspect Scorpio. It's going to square it. And so there's again, continued transformation, and the degrees matter, but the environment itself changes. The degrees bring in the intensity of the feeling, because Ariel in the Angel's Advice is asking Scorpio to really start to tell a new story. This is very Saturnian. The Baird is very Saturnian. It rules history, but it also rules the enchantment of storytelling. And Ariel is the connection to Spirit. And I believe that this is focusing on the rebirth rather than where you've been. Because Shanti is the angel of peace. There's a new peace and tranquility coming. And then the fire fairy is very much about a new inspirations, new ideas, new ways of thinking, feeling. And I also want to say this: if for some reason Scorpio has been experiencing a disruption on the outside, that means there's disruption coming in towards you. Other people are being jerky or mean or whatever the story is. Because again, this Mercury and Mars were going through Scorpio. Now the Sun and Mars, that could have made for disruptive energy outside yourself with other people. This could be an opportunity for Scorpio to experience yourself in an evolved way, where you normally would have acted one way or you would have thought one way. But because you've had this awareness, you've chosen a different tactic. And in that tactic, you're feeling empowered. You're feeling like, okay, I got this. I got my mojo. And so that disruption becomes a divine disruption that represents your evolution, which anchors it more into the physical experience, which allows you to get more traction moving forward with the things that you want to create in a more peaceful way without feeling like you're fighting in your head. It's not easy to have Mars and Pluto ruling your sun or your rising or your moon. It's a very powerful, very intentional, and yet at the same time, if it gets stuck in an earth, if we start to believe too much in the earthly structure, it can be a frustrating energy, because that earthly structure is constantly containing us. Whereas when we go into the divine laws of the universe, it expands us and attracts what we need to us, which is why I'm so into this Shapley cluster. It just plays right into what I believe in the first place about this universe being truly a universe of attraction. And if you watch Science and Nova, they say the same thing. They're not talking astrology, they're talking just stars, astronomy, etc. But it's an attracting universe. All right, going on to our Sagittarius. It's your birthday next week. All right, here we go. Our tarot card is the Four of Cups. Now, this is an interesting energy because it's literally the energy where the character is so focused on what feels incomplete. The three, cups have nothing in them. Why am I so crooked all the time with this? And yet there's inspiration coming. But if you look at the arms, I'm discontent, and the legs are folded. So the arms with that base chakra feel as if I'm standing in an energy that represents feeling not enough. That base chakra, it wants to be satiated, it wants to feel secure. And then when I look at the legs in the blue tights, and with them being crossed, I feel like communication could potentially be blocked through a cross, through the legs being crossed. I want to say it this way, because the emotions that come from this energy of the cups is I'm overwhelmed by something that's missing, and I cannot see how that God is trying to actually bring in something that would serve me either better or add to what I already have. Let's look and see where we're going. Our first angel is Fiona. The second is Yvonne. The third is Shanti. And the final is Serena. I just got the funniest idea in my head as I was looking at, I know that Thanksgiving is a United States holiday. Stephen mentioned he's going to see his in-laws. I almost got this feeling that if this week is sort of a landmine field of family, love you, but you drive me crazy at the same time, maybe you bring something to distract everybody. Maybe you bring a game or something to enjoy, to get people to think in a new way, or at least not discuss, how are you? What's going on with your life? Because if indeed you're concerned that something is missing, or there's a feeling of discontent, there's very much a feeling of discontent. Fiona is saying that God is and the angels are working on something. And there's Merlin, I'm sorry, Queen Leo, I got distracted by your comment. I'll address in a second. Fiona is talking about whatever's missing, God is working on bringing that into Sagittarius's experience. And I want to offer it this way, because if you really start to think of things as I put an intention into the universe, and then the universe is sort of called into action, am I, as the human, giving a certain amount of life to the gestation process of bringing those elements into play? Because Merlin represents balance, and we see this one in Merlin here. Then we see this light around Fiona's head. Again, I believe that everything that we manifest starts in our perception, our rising sign, and our perception dictates our emotions, and then our emotions dictate our focused thought. Because now, Sagittarius, it's about being vulnerable to the idea of love. So I want to offer this, because what if the idea is everything's going to be great? When I go in, I'm going to foster that people see the best in me, and I'm going to see the best in them. Because Shanti for Sagittarius is offering peace through some sort of reconciliation. And for me, when I think of a reconciliation, this is not about reconciling a relationship. It's about reconciling a divine disruption to empower me versus me feeling victimized by it and having to release it or forgive it, which just still leaves me sitting here holding a bag of emotional stuff. Because Serena, while it talks about money, I think this is about serenity. And the High Priestess is almost about calling Sagittarius into their Jupiterian energy to sort of put, like, Abraham talks about intention setting, right? You've got to segment a chapter, an experience in your life, and setting an intention. Maybe part of this intention for Sagittarius is that I'm going to focus in on allowing spirit to bring something in versus blocking it, because I'm only focused in on what I can see with my eyes. And that's Mercury on the Great Attractor right now, because the Great Attractor is about literally you're attracting things to you and then you're applying the information, and that information is your vibration. It's not, oh, the information is go to the 7-Eleven and then turn left and turn right. The information is, what is my vibration as I head to the 7-Eleven, go left and then turn right. Serenity. So I would say, Stephen, that you get to just start to think that you and your in-laws are going to have a great time. You're going to have fun. Now, Queen Leo, you've had a rough, a lot of, between your sister and now the anniversary of your father, a lot of emotional stuff coming up for you. I hope that you can feel the love that we're all sending to you as you walk through, in some ways, this sort of history, as you revisit these things. All right, we're going on to our Capricorns. I had to think for a second where I was. All right, Capricorn, the Knight of Pentacles. This is a very steady energy. Sometimes it's considered a stubborn energy. There's no movement in this card. And when we look at it, we see a lot of the red tunic. We see the red saddle, the red harness around the horse. Everything is focused in on creating physical security and feeling a sense of steadiness with that. So let's look at Capricorn, because now we're looking at, Capricorn is an earth sign. And in some ways, when I look at this, I'm noticing new things all the time for some reason. I don't know why. I feel like I've been looking at these cards for 3/4 of my life. And then just now I noticed on the very top, see the horse's head? See the foliage? Do you see the green foliage? And then you look at the knight's head. There's the agriculture. There's green. Things are going to grow. Things are growing. Hey, Joshua. Good morning. Thank you. Your mom told me that you've got me flowers. I haven't picked them up yet, but I want to say thank you so much. All right, Capricorn, we're going to go on to what does Spirit want you to know about being steady in some way? What do they want you to know is growing for you? Thank you, Joshua. That was very sweet and unexpected. Okay, here we go. Our first angel is Grace and Antoinette, which is about compassion. Your ruling planet is sitting at 0 degrees of Pisces right now. So I think the compassion is for the idea that you're walking through. Now, we've got Pluto in Capricorn, okay? But your ruling planet is in the sign of imagination, of fantasy, of the dream world. And I could focus in on some of the more challenging ideas of Pisces. But here in this tribe, we are co-creators that are creating elevated experiences for ourselves, not just the ones that have been handed to us. So I'm not going to focus on all the dark side of the planets every time. I'm going to focus on what they have to offer us. So as we sit in this birthing canal of Saturn at 0 degrees, you may need to exercise a little compassion as you're walking steadily through your own personal history of how you show up and what makes you feel comfortable, because you don't want to take any crazy left turns and try to be something that you're not. You want to work with your template to empower yourself. Okay, then we have Vanessa, faith over fear. That's not easy for Capricorn sometimes. Isaiah is talking about giving birth to new ideas, but Isaiah is protecting a woman who is still pregnant. So something is gestating. And then we have Rochelle. Your heart is gestating. The baby goat inside of you is gestating. You know, I find it so interesting that we have, like, when I look at the tools I've been given with astrology and with the tarot and with the angel cards and my own assessment of them, I find it so interesting because the wheel itself feels like a roller coaster. You know, if you're not feeling a square, you're feeling a trine. Trines seem to go fast, squares seem to last forever. You know, the sextiles are favorable, and yet we focus on the oppositions, on those challenging conjunctions. And while Capricorn has been experiencing a conjunction on your rising sign, you know, or your moon or your sun, it is a reinvention of who you are. And yet it isn't about throwing out who you've been. It's about building upon it, because what does Capricorn represent? Building. And there's so much growth to be had. There's more things that are happening. This foliage on his cap is like you're being protected while your mind expands in new areas. And your horse, which could be, if we look at it as being dark colored, we could assume that sometimes we focus on the dark side. So I'm protecting my money. I'm stubborn in some ways. But now the horse has got this foliage at the top of his third eye, giving him growth. So the growth is following your heart a little bit, and being able to differentiate and discern what is fear-based and patterned versus what is more faith-based and untested. Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the disruption card. Vanessa is being joined by the king. Isaiah's being joined by the horse, and Rochelle's being joined by the love card. Okay. I really don't think this is about outside love for my Capricorns. And if you are any other sign, but you have personal planets in Capricorn, let's say you had Venus in Capricorn, Mercury in Capricorn, Mars in Capricorn, this would be applicable for you. Grace and Antoinette is about compassion. It's about being able to see things from another person's point of view. But in this case, I think this is about seeing the two sides of yourself. The part of you that has been operating in a certain way, and it's been, you know, habitual, and now there's a sense of awareness sometimes that can create disruption. I tell a lot of my clients that one of the most challenging periods in my life was when I went from being an unconscious victim to everything that had happened to me, and then the in-between period when I knew I was a co-creator and I was still experiencing disruption, and I was so frustrated because I could no longer feel sorry for myself and I couldn't get myself out of it. This is what I think, Capricorn, you get to be compassionate about. You're still gestating, and you may continue to gestate for lifetime after lifetime, because this king is about taking authority in your faith. This is about really anchoring into a new conversation, anchoring into the idea that, you know, a lot of people have been crossing over, right? A lot of people that we love, that we are nostalgic about. Matthew Perry comes to mind. And the reason I bring that up is because I find myself, as my generation and even younger people are crossing over, I find myself every once in a while wondering about, like, really, do we really come back? Do we really, live lifetime after lifetime? Is what I believe true? And at the same time, while I wobble in it, I also feel like I see evidence of the new souls coming in that have a vibration of great creation that remind me of those that have crossed over. And the reason I say this is because I feel like Capricorn, anchoring your faith into a bigger picture of what you can see is what is going on here. Because Isaiah is telling you in the angel's advice that your belief system, the horse is very Sagittarian to me. You're broadening your belief system, and it's a gestation process. And because you're Earth, you may think, okay, this starts here and ends here. But I think it's a continual opportunity to ask yourself, what do I love? What brings me joy? We also get to know that while this is a Taurus energy or a Capricorn energy, even a Virgonian energy, Taurus rules food, and it rules things that we experience with our five senses. And I feel like that's part of the human process, is to enjoy the process. So now your biggest disruption, your biggest compassion, is having a sense of ease with your heart as you stand more and more for things that you love versus things you feel dutiful for. Maybe it's even learning to say no to things sometimes, even though it may disrupt someone else. Meaning, I'm sorry, I can't go pick you up right now. I need to take a nap. You know, one of those things, because it may seem frivolous. Oh, I could do that, but you don't want to. And I want to offer it this way because, all these planets, while they're transiting through the idea of Sagittarius right now, Mercury's there, and then Mars and the Sun are going to move there this week. I think this is teeing Capricorn up for when those planets move into your first house. Welcome, just call me C. And I want to say hi to everybody. If I didn't call out your name, I'm sending lots of love to you. All right, on to our Capricorn Aquarius. Rising moon, sun, and stellium. All right, wow. Okay, Aquarius, this is not an easy energy. The Five of Cups is almost a little bit, more intense than that Four of Cups we saw earlier. This came up last week as well, interestingly enough. One of the things about the human experience that seems to be patterned for me is that it is through challenge and loss that we actually gain awareness, or we seek a bigger quest, which is why I think the 8th house takes us into the 9th house, because when we experience the loss of something we love in the form of death, it makes us question our beliefs. So when we look at this Five of Cups, we see 2 cups are still standing behind the character. We see 2 cups actually have liquid that has come out of them. The 3rd cup doesn't appear to actually have liquid coming out. There's a black line that streams through the card this way. So that led me to believe it was already there. So this leads me to believe that there was a crack somewhere already for Aquarius. And while this cup was still empty, these cups are the ones that are actually being offered an opportunity to be rebirthed. The red liquid is coming from my base chakra. Am I in sorrow and loss because something feels as if it's rocked my insecurity or my security? And then the green liquid would be my heart. So something here has taken a sense of security away, or maybe a false sense of security. Let's go. Let's see where we're going with this Aquarius. Our first angel is is Xana. The second is Isabella. The third is Archangel Raphael. And the final is Bethany. Xana is being joined by the Letting Go card. Isabella is being joined by the Joy card. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the Love card. And Bethany is being joined by the Cow. One of the things about Aquarius is that it's really the sign that is the most out of, we think of Pisces as being very spiritual and a little bit, between worlds, but so is Aquarius. But it isn't between here and the afterlife. Aquarius is between what is in the human structure and what the human structure can be. And I feel when I look at this that there is a sense of sorrow that may be about there may be anxiety going on. There may be a sense of feeling, I have to think about this for a second. You know what? Taurus, your ruling planet, Uranus, is squaring Aquarius. So you may be feeling that square and a tension and a push-pull depending upon the degree of your rising sign or your moon or your sun, because something is shifting and you're being protected while you're letting go of something. And I think that might be why I talked about the red representing the base chakra and the green representing the heart chakra. Maybe there's something that you're contemplating changing, maybe even rebirthing yourself in a new way, because Isabella is saying that, yes, the timing is right for you to experience joy. And then Archangel Raphael wants to heal you from love, in love. But that isn't love outside yourself. That is love inside yourself. And I wonder if part of this is Aquarius trying to fit into what would be the human structure, this red security of, how we're all, you're co-ruled by Saturn too. Saturn is at 0 degrees of Pisces, right there on the edge of the last few degrees of Aquarius. There may be a sense of feeling it's weird because as I go in, I don't really feel sad, but I feel like maybe there's an awareness that if I'm going to be me, I got to let go of you, or I've got to let go of the version of how you perceive me and be more focused on how I want to perceive myself. I think you guys have heard me say this a time or two. I have this saying that sometimes if I'm going to be happy, I've got to be willing to be the villain in your story to be the hero in my own. And that's very much what this feels like to me, that there may be something that is going through some sort of, expansion, which would bring, more space between two things, that's giving an opportunity to rebirth something within you that's authentic to your uniqueness. And I brought up the whole anxiety thing because you may be feeling right now more anxious about it, or more like, why can't I want the same things other people want? Why do I have to want more? And I think it's because you're pre-designed to want more, so why fight it? The 11th house is about the cosmic consciousness. It rules the internet. 100 years ago, there was no internet, so it ruled other things. So Aquarius is constantly evolving. And I think surrendering to that rather than feeling sorrow is what's going on here. Okay. Let's go on to our Pisces. I really don't like looking at myself without a Zoom filter these days. I will admit it. Okay. Oh, this is a powerful card. All right. For my Pisces, we see this. This is the 3 of Wands. The Wands are always about creativity. They represent fire. These particularly represent, there's an Aries energy attached to this. It's the first decan of the wand of the fire energy of Aries. This is the sun, I believe, in Aries. So if there's something that you are creating through your own will, and I think this is why Saturn wants you to start to put structure in. And I want to say this about structure. Let's say you're a Pisces and you're creating, an astrology site, or you're wanting to write a book, or you're wanting to redecorate your house. Structure would look like this. On Monday, I'm going to dedicate some time to blah, blah, blah project. Every week, I'm in some sort of schedule, some sort of, all ships must be coordinated into the harbor. They can't just come willy-nilly or they'll crash. So there's something about taking your creative body and anchoring in some sort of structure with it, meaning some sort of consistency, some sort of behavior that is not about manifesting an outcome, but enjoying a process. That's the way I want to put it. When I look at that 3, I can't help but think that 3s are like the 3rd house. That's Gemini energy. So I want to align my mind, and my mind then align it into some sort of action versus just getting to dream it. Okay, our first angel for Pisces is Fiona. The second is Serena. The third is Archangel Uriel. And the final is Indriel. Fiona is being joined by the Joy card. Serena is being joined by the Butterfly. Archangel Uriel is being joined by the Spider. And Indriel is being joined by the High Priestess. When I think about the idea of the ships and the sails, these are vessels that maneuver the water element. The water element rules Pisces. Pisces, the water element, is not only your emotional body, but your intuitive body. And I feel as if Fiona and the joy card is an opportunity for an inspiration. So let's think of it this way. It does not matter whether you're a financial person, you could be creative with that. You could work in a morgue and be creative. I think any job on the planet, you could be stacking produce in the market and you could still be a creative person. To me, there is something here about keeping your eye on the prize of what you want, to stay in alignment to not only what is my mind focused on, but also the Trinity, and the idea that you're going to maneuver some sort of emotional situation with power of your focus, and that focus will be on joy, because the joy is coming as spirit inspires you into the next creative action, because Serena is all about serenity and the Butterfly is about process. It's about transformation, and on some level there is a quote unquote death, and I think what that death is the constant physical activity of pushing something forward, because we think if we don't take action, we aren't moving forward. And I don't think that's necessarily true. Oftentimes, action is no action. It's allowing for the noise of the physical brain to quiet down so that inspiration can come through. Because here feels like frustration in creative projects. And the frustration would block the solution. And here, the solution comes from a divine inspiration. So if indeed you are actually physically working on something creative, like photography, or you're writing a story, or you're in the midst of a educational process that is birthing a new creative endeavor, allowing for the ebb and the flow of knowing that this is not an accounting job where you can just crunch the numbers and move on, that sometimes stepping back is where you actually get your clearest sight. Because definitely this guy, even on the card, you see that around his head, there's inspiration. Inspiration. That's that yellow that goes along with the ocean. All right. So don't worry about Saturn too much. Look, Saturn is what it is, okay? But we remember, if we're patient with ourselves, we're revisiting our history for information, not to try to release, but information. Oh, is that where I get in my way, where I have an imprinted belief that I didn't know I have? Okay. All right, on to our Aries, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Here we go. Thank you, small ball flowers. I appreciate you. Oh, I'm shuffling and I didn't pull the tarot card. All right, Aries. Oh, I hope this is so true, because, this week I could get an answer from the bank. Keep your fingers crossed. There is self-satisfaction. Now, I got to tell you, this is really a wonderful energy for me, because, especially for Aries, because things have not been, there's been some challenging planets or points going through Aries. Eris is up against the North Node. Eris is, again, Mars's little sister. She's the one that fights for the underdog, who stands up for what she believes in. And as she is conjunct at 24 degrees up against the North Node, she is willing to fight for what she wants. And she's not backing down. And now what she's doing, she's honing her skills. She's like, I used to go in when I was a teenager. I'm like, I cut you. I beat you up. Now she's like, let me sit back. She's more like a someone who knows martial arts. So she knows how to use her opponent's energy for her benefit, right? And she's feeling a sense of satisfaction. I also want to offer this, because Chiron has been going through, Aries for quite some time. And it's so easy to focus in on the wound, you know, the word healer has gotten up my grill lately. I don't like it anymore. It makes me feel like it inherently says there's something wrong with me. And spirit has encouraged me to use the word balancer, because every disruption has an opportunity for some sort of illumination. And I believe that as Mars is your co-ruler, it has been spending 2022, 2023 honing and learning its skills to stand in a hero energy, to be able to be forceful, to be able to be assertive without being alienating or considered aggressive. It's just a whole new vibration. Okay, so I told you guys I did that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce video on their compatibility, which I don't normally do those, but I'm telling you, I caught the fever and it's fun. I have the Sun and Mars conjunct in Libra. So does Travis. And I got to tell you, I think that this is not such a bad thing. While the Sun is in fall in Libra, having that connection with Mars makes me feel as if there's a brave way of being yourself in a balanced way. And if we take the sign of Libra, that's relationships, both intimate and professional. So I'm not surprised that he is powerful and yet well liked, because Aries, it's time for you to start to think that you are well liked. I want to say, be proud of yourself. Be proud. Extinguishing your fire would be a crime against nature. But as you've honed how to use your fire to warm and to inspire versus to just burn things down, this is beautiful. So I think that that's where we're going here. And I think it's okay to still stand up for what you want. Well, on some level, the difference now is there's not a defensive energy behind it. And that might be what you're most satisfied about. I know it is for me. This is the most stealth bomber I've ever been. Patience. Patience is all about observing your own behavior and being a student, because people will soon, when people have, how do I want to put it, colorful energies around them. Obvious. Aries is an obvious energy, right? It's big, it's powerful, it's loud in its fire, loud in its assertion. So when it learns how to balance itself, it becomes very obvious to the outside world. And that's very gratifying for Aries as you are learning how to become a master. I always think of it as Luke Skywalker. We have Bridget in the opportunity, the obstacle. We have Indriel, the light worker. And then we have Archangel Uriel about frustration, about anger. There is a part of me over the last month, literally starting October 5th, 14th, right before that, or right the day of the eclipse, that watched myself be and purport an energy that I have never done before. And this truly was a patience with trusting my connection to spirit, that if I put myself in a place of putting my physical well-being in their hands, they would give me the inspirations to balance a situation that was very much out of balance. And while I don't have the physical manifestation and outcome yet, my strength and my trust in this connection is getting stronger and stronger, because I'm very much realizing that my vibration is so incredibly important in this situation. And I consider myself in a battle or in a war. And there have been a series of battles that I have, quote unquote, lost. And yet I believe I'm going to win the war. Patience is being joined by the deer, gentleness and diplomacy, Aries. Oh my goodness. Bridget, creative action. Bridget is being joined by the fire fairy, creative action and optimism. Indriel is being joined by the serpent, knowledge and balancing, the shedding of a skin. And finally, we have the spider joining Archangel Uriel. I absolutely think that Aries is coming into an awareness where you actually think to yourself, I just said actually, I'm sorry. You like your fire. You're starting to know how to use it. And rather than just taking on the definition of others, oh my God, you're so harsh, you're so this, you're understanding how to use gentleness and diplomacy with yourself. And you're feeling extremely satisfied. I always think that this blue curtain has a lot to do with conversation with my throat chakra. And here's Bridget looking deeper into how you've been acting creatively when it comes to interacting with others, because Indriel, the light worker, has been giving you inspirations, allowing you knowledge that is giving you an opportunity to show up differently when you're frustrated and angry. This feels like a relationship with my anger. I said to somebody the other day that, I don't like these disruptions. I don't like feeling unsafe or feeling like there's the potential of being physically harmed by someone. And yet there's willingness to take action that doesn't look like action on the outside. Everything's happening behind the scenes. And this is giving me an opportunity to experience myself in a different way and experience my anger, my feelings of injustice in a different way. I don't feel victimized by it. I feel empowered. And that's why I feel like I'm going to be satisfied. And this is why I love this card for this week. Okay, let's go on to our Taurus, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. I think that Aries has, when I think about the idea of Pluto squaring all the cardinals, right? Or squaring Libra and Aries and then opposing Cancer. The cardinal signs always feel like, because they're on the world axis and all that, it always feels as if there's something about representing. Something we represent in our individuality with Aries, something we represent in our home, our self-nurturing with Cancer, how we interact and balance our relationships in Libra, and then how we sit and take on our leadership role in Capricorn. So as we walk through those opportunities, those squares, we are being, our own soul is calling us to a new vibration, a new place of power. And I think because the cardinals are a little mutable and a little fixed, they're the perfect ones to represent the transition. And now, as we've represented it, we're going to watch that square happen to our fixed signs, because Pluto is going to move into Aquarius, oppose Leo, and square Taurus and Scorpio. Oh, speaking of Taurus, let's move on. Oh, this is a powerful, again, we're feeling the Aries energy here. This one is where he has the world in his hands. He's really feeling powerful in his co-creation with the universe, and new things are afoot. Our first angel is Desiree, Taurus. The second is Layla. The third is Omega. And the final is Celeste. Desiree is being joined by the Burden card. Layla's being joined by the Water Fairy. Omega is being joined by the Perception card, and Celeste is being joined by the King. Okay, I want to offer it this way. We have Jupiter retrograde in the first house of Taurus, because we're talking to Taurus. That's why it's the first house. We also have Uranus. These two planets, what I think right now, there's a honing in for my Taurus is about what you really want. When I look at this too, I feel like this is about taking leadership of your world versus, in some ways, looking at where you've been. Again, Taurus is an earth sign. Taurus rules the history we have with our family, the impressions that were left on us and imprinted us as we interacted with various members in our youth. Because to me, there's something now where you're having trouble actually believing in whatever the Two of Wands is offering. But part of it is because this is, again, a period of time. I think this last months of 2023 and really the whole year, but so many planets stationing, going to change signs, going to, going back to positions of newness, Saturn, and again, Pluto's going to go to the 0 degree of Aquarius. This is assessment time. This is about a reevaluation, about looking at, am I standing in alignment with what feels exciting and inspirational moving forward, or am I playing now to a sense of security, a physical security, a sense of wanting to make sure that there's a roof over my head and food in my mouth? Because Layla talks about intentions, and then there's the water fairy. And right now I feel like I'm talking to spirit about wanting to be more inspired moving forward versus being worried potentially about moving forward. And when I look at the angel's advice, Omega is saying your victory comes from your ability to be able to be aware of your perception. And this is not about villainizing your perception. This is about understanding that, again, Taurus is a fixed sign. Your confidence is, your sense of self-worth will come from how much you felt supported as you were dreaming, throughout your life. And to me now, I feel as if there's a shift in your mind, and that this has really been coming for quite some time. And that's why Jupiter represents your belief system, represents the expansion. This is about using your own skills, the second house, your own voice, to be able to talk to yourself about what you want. That's your perception. And that then feels like it starts to move your story forward in a more rapid way. When Jupiter goes direct, this is going to be at the end of, I think it starts its direct motion on the 31st of December. I think it's going to move very quickly through the rest of Uranus. Through the rest of Taurus. It's going to meet with Uranus around April. And so there could be really, we could have earthquakes, yes, but we could also have an unexpected expansion that changes our life and turns things upside down in a good way. Because the king represents things pertaining to law, universal law. And then Celeste not only represents a shift in the way I'm thinking, that's Teri's interpretation, it also represents a manifestation of either a new job, a new home, or something in the material world that allows you to feel expansion in a physical environment. So I think this is important. I think that Desiree and the Burden card are telling you that this is, again, we're in a process. So as you give life to just keeping your eye on the prize, things are working out for me, keep the terms general. And I want to offer this to y'all. I find the word money is a big trigger for people. And so when you're doing any sort of affirmations or declarations, using the word resources is a more vibrationally neutral word. And therefore, you're not triggering in what your believability is about your ability to make money. So I want to offer that, especially since we're on Taurus and Taurus rules money. Okay, let's go on to the money we make ourselves. I should kind of clarify that a little bit. All right, on to our Geminis. The Hanged Man. This is a pause that represents an illumination. We see, literally, the base chakra represented by the red tights needs to be turned upside down in order for something to shift into the way I'm communicating, because that blue tunic very much feels as if it represents my throat. And this character is not tethered or tied in a punishing way. This almost feels as if this character has chosen to turn things upside down in order to feel an illumination. There's also a very strong Neptunian energy attached to the hangman. It is the number 12, which represents the Piscean energy. Pardon Lucky while he has a little cough. You good there, Buzz? Okay. Because I want to offer this. Gemini, you are ruled by Mercury. Mercury is in Sagittarius right now and near the great attractor. And I feel as if there is the potential that you could really harness in this energy right now by slowing down, turning things upside down, and really starting to allow not only yourself to muse about the potentials moving forward in a way that serves you, but also sort of looking for that communication with spirit. Because, we've got Mercury in its opposing sign of Sagittarius, but yet there's an expansive field to that. And now through this week, being on the great attractor, you can literally say to spirit, okay, this is what I want. And when I want signs that what I want is on its way. So if I want a new home, let me explain to you how I feel when I'm in that new home. I walk through in the front door and I feel a sense of serenity. I feel a sense of safety. I feel a sense of comfort. Again, using broad terms, because this is going to be a dreamy energy. Okay, a dreamy energy that relates more to putting an order into the universe. Neptune, again, this is this sort of what appears to be fantasy today could be reality tomorrow, given enough effort. And the effort would be the musing, the allowing for it. Gemini's going to want to go choo, 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 choo. But what about this? But what about that? And because Gemini dispenses short bits of information, sometimes it only takes in short bits of information. This allows for a little bit more depth by slowing it down. So I would think this would be a really good week to meditate. And we are going into a new moon, I believe. Full moon in Gemini? Something's happening on the 27th. Hold on. I got it on my previous page. I think it's Gemini full moon. Pardon, will I cheat and look? Yes, Gemini full moon, 4 degrees. Okay, here we go. Our first angel for Gemini is Opal. The second is Grace and Antoinette. The third is Layla. And the final is Indriel. Well, this all supports taking a pause this week. I think this is a very important juncture for those of us that have been standing for our awareness because, a lot of it's conceptual. I believe spirits out there. I talk to my angels, but it isn't until they start to deliver, and they can't deliver until we slow down to receive. And that's exactly what this is about. All right, here we go. Gemini, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Oh, well, let me grab that card. Hold on. Our first card is the Joy card. Love that. The second is Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the moon. The movement card. My goodness. Layla's being joined by the wealth card. And Indriel's being joined by the love card. I very much think that for my Geminis, this is a powerful opportunity for you to experience your connection to the divine. I feel as if taking time specifically this week to use your ruling planet to engage in a conversation with spirit, right? The great attractor is applying the knowledge that you have learned. So this is slowing it down. This is saying, I'm excited about you presenting opportunities for me to experience joy. And I'm putting my trust in you, that because I do believe that in some respects, Gemini, your frustrations have been defining what is going to bring peace and a sense of harmony into your life, because Grace and Antoinette is asking you to have compassion for the pace of your movement. The movement in a Neptunian energy is not quick. It's slower because we're having to get through the fog, or we're having to get through any confusion or swim through the waters. So here, Layla is all about spending time communing with God, communing with your angels, communicating with your team. And there's the wealth card, which is really more about, to me, harmony. It's about feeling all the resources that I need. There's plenty of food on the table. There's a beautiful roof over my head. There's a warm, cozy feeling in my life of trust, because Indriel, the light worker, and the love card here make me feel as if if you have not been feeling like a child of God, if you've been feeling like you've had to work hard and do it all, I mean, if you think about it, Gemini, more so even than Virgo, he's got to dispense all the information, manage all the emails, manage all the teams, all the learning, all the reading, all the speaking. I mean, there's so many things. When does Mercury have time to just slow down? Mercury has no moons, neither does Venus. So this allowing yourself to slow down will give you a feeling of being connected to the divine, and there'll be an inspiration that comes through. And that, I think, will start to build upon new experiences moving forward in 2024 for you. Because when Jupiter moves into your first house, whoosh, prepare. The preparing is to be excited. The preparing is thinking about all the fun things that can happen. All right, here we go. On to our Cancer, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. We have the Seven of Cups. This could not be more appropriate for Cancer, because this character has to really trust his intuition, because if he tries to look at anything too much, he's going to see good news, bad news, potential solution, big problems. And the sevens by nature are being able to have an introspective sort of observation from a more airy place, like a Libra energy, where I'm balancing the scales of, challenging versus, ease, dark versus light, day versus night. The oppositions are what create balance. So here, in order for there to be a solution or to find the answer, you can't look with your eyes, because you'll be constantly put into confusion. You get to go into your heart. Almost said have to. All right, here we go. Cancer moon. So when you have a Cancer moon, you've got the Lord of the house, Lordess of the house in the house. This is very powerful. It's almost, in some ways, it's a clue in your natal chart as to where you will best problem solve. You will best problem solve your emotions through your intuitive body and your connection and self-nurturing, Queen Leo. And sometimes when you have Leo energy, people want to always accuse you of being selfish. And I don't know if that's always true. In fact, I think it's not true often. All right, Cancer, our first angel is Serena. The second is, yes, Isabella. The timing is right. Mystique, keep charging ahead. And then Indriel, the light worker. All right, Serena is being joined by the deer. Isabella is being joined by the protection card. Mystique is being joined by the cow, and Indriel is being joined by the restriction card. Okay, so the little thing about Cancer is that, because it's such a nurturing, it rules the mother energy. It rules, it rules taking care of other people. Your children, your husband, your mom, your dad, your whole family. And oftentimes it gets sort of washed away. Now, I want to offer it this way, because if indeed the Seven of Cups is having you look at things in a way where, well, if I don't take care of you, then you won't love me anymore, or I don't know, whatever the stories are. I don't really want to put them in such a mundane way, but there is a feeling when you look at the bottom of the zodiac and the fact that Cancer holds that very southern position, basically holding up the whole wheel, and also really rules our sense of safety with our homes, as well as the history that home created, the interactions within that home. So what I'm trying to say for my Cancers is, right now, especially if you feel the opposition of Pluto, because it's giving you an opportunity to actually slow down again. Here we are. We're talking about going into an intuitive place and being gentle with yourself, gentle with yourself as you allow Spirit to bring a solution. And I want to offer it this way, because I absolutely think the solution will come from an outside source, where either somebody will put down their sword, or they will agree to something, or something will happen where you don't have to push on it to make it happen, or you don't have to pick it up to make it happen. And I think this is an important experience for you personally, so that you can see that maybe sometimes when I don't take action, somebody else, I mean, it can be something as mundane as you don't get up to do the dishes and somebody else goes in and does them. Because Isabella says, yes, the timing is right for this. And then there's the protection card. The protection card is a 31. I'm sorry, a 38. What was wrong with me? A 38, which reduces down to a 1. Now, the deer is a 22. So you're coming into a partnership with being serene with your intuitive body, your self-nurturing body, the body that is demonstrating for the people you love how to self-care, so that they don't inadvertently pick up the vibration of, if I don't care for you, I'm not lovable. Because Mystique is saying to keep charging ahead, and this is about giving and receiving. It's also about abundance, and it's about nourishment. So you're being protected as you start to demonstrate such powerful energies as self-care. Because this restriction card is actually not about restricting you. It is slowing you down so you can feel your divinity. You can feel the inspirations from God and the angels. I believe that we are all here and we are all light beings. So to say someone is a light worker, to me, is not necessarily special, because sometimes people are light workers when they're being disruptive, because that disruption gives us an opportunity to make choices from an inner knowing versus of what the human structure expects of us. Okay, on to our Leos, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. All right. Oh, love this energy. For our Leos, we have this Cancer energy. This is the Chariot. It rules, again, another intuitive energy. If you look at the Chariot, it infers movement, but there is no actual movement in this card. The Sphinxes, which you would assume are carrying or pulling the Chariot, are in a seated position. They represent opposites. The Charioteer is adorned, his armor is the moons. The stars are above him in the canopy, and the chariot itself is cement blocking his base chakra. So the victory that is offered here is a connection to your inner knowing, understanding the polarity of the human experience, and within that, the opportunity for choices. This is very much movement without movement. Victory comes as we are aware of our inner voice. And I want to offer this too, because the idea of victory, the definition of it, very much shifts when we start to go into our vibration versus into our physical manifestation. We start to become feeling victorious in a way that allows us to trust, the moon, the stars, the cycles of being. Everything that I've, for some reason, this last month or so, while we were in eclipse season, I became highly aware that there were things about the eclipses and the disruption that I was experiencing. So when I took another action, I did it during the Scorpio new moon. Scorpio rules other people's money. It rules criminals. And I wanted to put in an energy of balance. So I want to offer it this way, because there could very well be, for my Leos, this opportunity for you to find more information in your emotional body, in your inner knowing body, in a part of you that maybe can even recognize on a material level that there are polarities in play, and then allow yourself some sort of integration. See their headgear? That's the integration, and it's in the mind. And wow, these sphinxes have very human faces. They actually both have breasts. So there is a feeling of feminine reception, again, playing to the moon energy. Let's, Leo, let's see. We're going to, Serafina, a happy change to your family. Then we have Daniel, the angel of marriage. We have Serena again showing up, and we have Xana, the angel of protection. Seraphina is being joined by the deer. Daniel's being joined by the partnership card. Serena is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. And Xana is being joined by the focus card. When I look at this, well, I could inadvertently say, this is about, looking into your world. I think it's your inner world. I think, Leo is a sign of leadership. Leo is the sign of creativity, of self-expression, of the conception of children, of our high school experience, of games and entertainment and joy. And I feel as if when I look at Seraphina and the deer, now I want to say, are you being gentle with yourself in your own mind, in your own inner voice, in your own emotional body? Because a sense of gentility will actually start to vibrate in the outside world as well and start to come back to you, because there's something going on with Leo. Leo itself had Venus going through it for 4 months. Here's the partnership card. Here's Daniel, the angel of marriage. But Daniel also represents your history and partnership. And every person who experiences a secular dynamic in partnership, whether it's tasteful or distasteful, does on some deed, on some level, co-create that experience. So if you're used to being disappointed, then you tee yourself up to be disappointed because you're used to it. Because I think there's a part of me that says that Leo, this abundance that was represented by Serena, will come from a sense of self. Like the Lady of the Lake represents a deeper truth, self-respect, courage, responsibility. It is the number 8, which is the Leo number. And I think that there is a war. Her mind is going one way. The emotions are all churned up. And then she's holding Excalibur, the sword of truth, in the middle. I feel as if there is something where I want to encourage you to just sort of be gentle with yourself this week, to look at your deeper motivations. If you're feeling something secular is coming where you're not being nurtured or you're not being seen, then how do you want to address that? Do you address it by confronting it in a roar, the lion roars? Or are you going to be more the strength card that we see, where you take a gentle approach and you start to say, because I will tell you, humans never respond to being punished unless they're children and they have no power, and they don't really even respond there. They just process in a different way. But because here, Xana is about protection, but it's about emotional protection. So things that have happened to you are in the past. And then there's the focus card. And I want to encourage you that if for some reason you're having your history kicked up and you're not feeling loved, you're not feeling appreciated, you're not feeling like other people are seeing you, then on some level, there's too much focus out on what those people are thinking. And now maybe it's about focusing in on you. And maybe it is about taking an inventory of the things that you like about yourself, or the bravery that you've done, or the evolution you've been fostering for yourself. I think it's time for potentially Leo to really allow the inner voice to dictate the emotional body versus how the audience is responding. And I think that's an opportunity to feel a shift, because in that sense of your inner voice applauding you, you start to see the people in the audience that applaud you. The truth is, or at least my truth, my observational truth, is happy people see happy things even when there are disruptive things. They choose a certain line of focus, and the momentum of choosing makes that effortless after a while. So I think that this is where you're being protected, because as you're gentle with yourself and the committee in your brain, being aware of your imprint is not a call to action. It's not about a releasing ceremony or any sort of judging ceremony. It's just a point of information which offers you a choice. And even though the choice sometimes is difficult because the brain is imprinted, and then the fixed sign of Leo can be imprinted. So here, this is where, will I be brave enough Will I be the charioteer in my own life to go into my emotional body and to call upon spirit to help me foster balance? And the balance is reconciling how a disruptive experience or me feeling lack of love could potentially reflect that am I showing self-love? And as I implement the self-love and I sort of put the dishes on hold or I put the responsibilities on hold, I'm nurturing everyone around me. Okay. All right. Hi, Les. It's good to see you in the room. Always great to see you. All right, here we go. On to our Virgos. Ooh, 10 of Wands. It's way too much work. Working hard. A lot of burden attached to this energy. This is a Sagittarian energy, mutable energy. And at the same time, it's more of a challenging energy because when I look at this today, the first thing I thought was, why isn't he making multiple trips? Why does he have to do everything that's so hard? He can't even see where he's trying to go. Let's see what we're doing. Oh, jeez. Pardon me, I just knocked cards off the table. Okay. Virgo, you have Saturn opposing you. So 0 degrees, late Leos will feel that Saturn opposition as well. Late Leos, early Virgos. Pardon me for clinking. This might not even be this might not be physically. This might be something mental. Let's see. Because you could, depending upon how the rest of these cards play out, it could be that you feel you have the burden of everything on your shoulders. And Saturn might contribute to that. Now, if any of you are around my age, and I bet you know what that is, so I'm not going to repeat it, you have Pluto in Virgo. So depending upon where that is, we'll see an opposition between Pluto and Saturn. All right, Desiree, conditions are not favorable. Fiona is saying that God and the angels have a spot, meaning they're working on something for you. Celeste is in the angels' advice, and Aurora. Oh, all right. This might just be about work, literally. Desiree is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. Fiona is being joined by the Fire Fairy. Celeste is being joined by the Water Fairy. And Aurora is being joined by the Queen. Okay, for my Virgos, this is very interesting to me because the 10 of Wands makes me feel as maybe you're coming to a crescendo. Maybe you're tired of working hard. Maybe you're tired of, only looking at your responsibilities rather than, how much you're paying attention to your own personal fulfillment. Because here, the Lady of the Lake is all about you. And Desiree, on some level, gosh, I just so crooked lately. Desiree is about conditions being favorable. And this feels like it's the conditions of your own mind. Now, let's just think your ruling planet Mercury was just in Scorpio, sextiling you. And now it's moved into Sagittarius, which is going to be sort of a call to broaden your thoughts. And Sagittarius rules business. It rules commerce. So there could be this moment in time where you're revisiting the very things that you do for a living, the way you make your money, and if it's really working for you, or just, keeping your bills paid. Because Fiona, in the opportunity, the obstacle, and the Fire Fairy tell me that this is about the potential of feeling a creative spark. Something could shift, an opportunity. And I want to offer it this way because it almost feels as if it could potentially come from outside yourself. So if we think about Virgo being the opposing sign to Pisces, it could create tension if somebody that you know from your past offers you a job or offers you something that could be a new endeavor, but it may put what you consider stable in a precarious position. because I have the Celeste, which is a new home or a new place of employment. And then I have the water fairy in the angel's advice. And I feel like this is going back to the 10. Don't be too logical. Don't be too practical. Actually go for what you want and trust the universe to bring it in, because Aurora says you're flying high right now. Don't descend. You will inspire others. And there's the queen. So I always think it's so powerful when you look at a sign that is like Virgo, which works hard, dependable, practical for the most part, sometimes a little critical, sometimes a little bit of a perfectionist. But when you see it, when you experience a shift inside an energy like that, it really does give you an experience that allows you your own personal shift. Because somewhere, I think, Virgo, you're revisiting what you do for a living, because it could potentially be, stressing you out or making you feel burdened. That 10 is really not an easy energy. It's everything is on your shoulders. And even if technically people say it's not all on your shoulders, you may perceive it on your shoulders, and your sense of wanting to make sure everything, all T's are crossed, all I's are dotted. And now Spirit's saying, we could potentially bring you an inspiration. Prepare yourself to be ready, to be brave. If this indeed seems like something you really want, if we present it to you, will you be brave enough to walk through the door? That's what I think. Oh my God, who does that? Your Virgo husband? Oh my goodness, that is funny. That is so funny. I have a Venus in Virgo and I have Pluto. They're kind of close to each other. And I too have a little weird thing. Like, I can't work if everything's in disruption. I make my bed every day. I don't like to go to bed with the dishes in the sink, even if they're piled up nice. I like to come in and have it be clean. I'm just like weird that way. But my mom was a total slob hoarder, and that could be part of why I'm that way, because she was so disorganized. And I have Saturn in Capricorn in my 10th house, which makes me want to be super organized. Okay. Oh, good, Stephen. I'm excited. Yeah, that'll be fun. All right, on to our Libras, our final sign. And I want to offer this to you, Libra, because I'm going to be a little weird now. I know you guys, I don't know if y'all are, caught the fever of the Travis Taylor saga, because I'm totally loving it. But I kind of laugh because I'm looking at transits right now, and I'm looking at people who, if we didn't know them because they were famous, we would think their transits were scary, that something bad was going to happen. And it's just the opposite. Pluto can bring in great wealth and great, transformation of how you operate, because you're aware of a deep psychological dynamic. Because Libra, there's the transformational death card. And to me, it's a 13. The 13 reduces down to a 4, which is foundational, right? Rules the Cancer house, the 4. The 4 rules the Cancer home, which is where I learned about who I am and whether I'm a difficult person or an easy person, a happy person or a sad person, because people were telling me all of those things as I was growing up. So now when I see the king laying on the floor and I see the religious pope or whatever, I am being called forth for a new experience. The rules have been broken on some level, and now I'm being offered an opportunity to transform what I believe about myself. So as I personally have been experiencing Pluto on my ascendant in Aries, on my sun, it's a little off my sun, but it still feels like it's on there, and then on my Mars. It has been extremely interesting to me this time to watch the boogeyman come at me. And yet this personal experience has had me learn how to operate in a new way. And again, do I have a manifestation to prove my success? Not yet. But I use the word yet because I can feel deeply within me that what I have put forth will indeed happen. So I'm going to be transformed. I'm not going to be the same person after this, because my belief is going to shift. And it's going to call forth Spirit to be even more powerful within my life. One who is connected to source energy is more powerful than millions who are not. Okay, the first card is Chantal, the angel of love and romance. The second is Serafina, the angel of happy families. Adriana is leading us to the answer to our prayers. And then Bethany is the angel of self-care. We have Chantal being joined by Merlin, balance, alchemy, justice. Then we have the romance angel, the Grail Knight, joining Serafina, the happy change to families. Adriana is being joined by the frog, which is the integration of an emotional experience. And then finally, there is the love card. I got to tell you this, all right? You know, it makes me kind of laugh that I have my ruling planet, Mars, conjunct a sun in fall, combusting my Mars, and my south node is in the 12th house of Aries. I say all of this because all of that indicates not being heard, not being seen, and then having this Martian energy that wants to kind of, hey, look at me, roar, roar. I say that because I feel as if this last very, very, very ugly, ugly, challenging experience feels as if it is about to transform my self-worth. Chantal is the angel of romance. Merlin is about balance, alchemy, and justice. And I feel like one of the things that the South Node and the North Node have been offering the Aries Libra axis, and we're on Libra right now, being egoless to another person's opinion, which basically means that I'm going to stand for what I want and what I love and what is true to me, regardless of how you process that. It is infusing more of the individual into the Libra energy, which is the South Node is asking you to be, allow for something to erode away. And we sometimes think if we're not providing value in our relationships, personal relationships, our professional relationships, that we aren't valuable. So here is a transformation, because now when I look at the Grail Knight, I'm not really necessarily, this is a romance angel, but I don't think that this is about romance. I think it's about Libra loving Libra as an individual. It's about any illusions that you cannot be happy. Now, when you seek the sacred within yourself, you find other people joining in on your transformation. Let's look at this death card again, because what I want to point out is, okay, so the king is dead over here, right? So that's structure, that's authority, that's the ruling party. Then we see the religious character looking death straight in the eye. He's like, all right, I'm willing to believe. Now we have the girl here turning away. Where's my fingers? Okay. This one, turning away, because she's like in between being an adult and a child. She's not sure how to process it. And yet the child himself is not afraid of this transformation. I feel like that's super powerful. Also, we see the child holding a box of flowers. These subtle intricacies within this card are telling me that as I trust, like a child, the transformation, it will shift me in a way that will create more happiness, love, fulfillment. Here's Adriana leading you to the answers to your prayers. And there's the frog that releases emotional baggage. Now, I don't really release anything, but boy, can I turn it into a tool to empower me. So I know that I'm being brought into a more prosperous chapter of my life. And I don't know if that necessarily means I'm prosperous because I'm bringing more money in, but I'm liking myself more. I'm liking my individuality. Libra is often associated strictly with partnership. And Libra possesses a really powerful point within the Shapley cluster. And that point is 2 degrees, 22 minutes of Libra, which is the supergalactic center. This is creating a relationship with self as the source for your own manifestation, for your self-love, which then draws more and more people into your sphere that want to love you and adopt that energy. Because here is Bethany. It's all about self-care. And here is our love card. So here, what we're seeing is that you become more full. You become more, there's a transformation that is actually working in your favor versus trying to pull you under, as you are serene in your willingness not to judge the past or feel any sort of self critical energy for what, oh, I should have known that sooner, or I should have been able, if I would have known that, I might have saved this. No, everything's happening in its perfect timing. That's what alchemy is. Alchemy is something that happens through pressure, through something that feels challenging. You know, love is sometimes interruptive. It says no to imbalance. So this is all about Libra self-love. This is all about trusting a bigger picture of your own personal transformation and looking deeper into if something has left your life, or it looks like it's leaving your life, or it is changing your perception within your life. Is this not maybe serving a bigger picture of your happiness? It could be. You know, Queen Leo, to be a Leo and to have two parents with Capricorn rising, that feels very difficult to me because the Capricorn is so limiting and so follow the rules, and Leo is so let me make some rules for myself. You know, Capricorn rising would be like, we can't leave this house to go do anything fun until we clean, do the dishes, all that stuff. And Leo's like, I'll leave the dishes in the sink. Let's go have a good time. So I find maybe you on some level were standing in leadership for your parents, you know, to allow for their transformation. You know, it's not always, we look at things sort of, you know, in these human structures. Oh, my parents are my parents. They're older, they're wiser, they know things. They're just souls. They're just souls trying to figure it out. And I think we choose them sometimes because we are part of their own personal, and I don't like the word evolution, but it's there. Their growth, I don't like that word either. Their awareness. Their awareness. So are your parents still here? Are both your parents still here, Queen Leo? Because Pluto's transit could do something about that. Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, you know, gosh, you've gone through a lot, Queen Leo. You have. It's been a very transformational time for you. And I can only think of you as a beautiful little butterfly. When I tune into your energy, I see the butterfly all full of purple and blues, the sort of almost like as if I drew it. So allow yourself to integrate these experiences and then claim yourself and what you want. All right, everybody, that's it for me. I will be back a week from today at 11 a.m. Pacific time. For those of you in the United States, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. If you're celebrating alone, know that your guides and your angels are there with you. And if you are celebrating with others, I hope you enjoy yourself. And in any case, have a great time. And I'm going to admit that tomorrow night at 5:30, I'm going to be watching the Kansas City Chiefs play the Eagles. And I can't wait because I didn't know that I was so interested in the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. But I can't wait to watch. All right, everybody, have a wonderful week. Sending lots of love to you. I am so appreciative of your energy and your support on these Sunday mornings and throughout the week. If you haven't had a chance to see my Travis and Taylor video, I literally make a prediction for their engagement as well as for their wedding day. So we'll see. Anyway, I will see you next week, everybody. Peace out.